Hi everyone, welcome to Rike Sports and our preview for the IPL 2021. So as we know, it's not been a long wait from last year's tournament to this year's one, as last year's tournament was delayed and didn't start until September. So we're now here in April 2021 and this season's tournament is about to get underway. First of all, just take a look back at last year's tournament. What a great tournament it was. The level of cricket, as always, was outstanding. As we know, all the teams are really a high standard and we saw so many close matches, and that's illustrated by the amount of matches that went to super overs. So yeah, really a great tournament to watch, and the standout team, and the team you have to say that won it quite comfortably in the end, were Mumbai Indians. They topped the league phase, and then in the first playoff they beat Delhi very comfortably, and then in the final you have to say again it was quite a comfortable victory there too. So it's great performance there for Mumbai Indians. They're really a strong unit in all departments, and they definitely go into this year's tournament as the team to beat and the favourites for sure. For me, the highlight match of last year's tournament was the match between Punjab Kings and Rajasthan. What a match that was. So Punjab had set Rajasthan 223 runs to win, and they were looking to be in a little bit of trouble where the run rate was really high. Rahul Tewatia was at the crease and he was really struggling to hit the ball off a square. He had faced many balls for only a few runs, but then he just exploded and started hitting 6 after 6. He got 7 sixes in the end and scored 53 runs to guide them home, and they won by 3 balls to spare in the end. It was looking like such a difficult situation where like the crease really struggling, but see him turn it around, and it just looked so unlikely that they were going to win that match. I mean, to go on and win it, it was really a great performance for them, and it was really fun to watch that match. So for me, that was the highlight of that tournament. So going forward now, looking to this year's tournament, I'm going to preview each team now one by one. Starting with Chennai, so it was a big surprise to see them struggle so much in last season's tournament. They normally do so well, get into the playoffs and many finals, and they've won the tournament many times. So that was a big surprise. They struggled with the batting a lot, and they've looked to address that by adding some experience to their squad this time. They got Robin Uthapatha and Chitara Pujara coming in, and we know with Pujara his game is more suited to the longer format, but he's such a class player. If he's in good form and in good rhythm, he will score runs at a decent clip. The biggest thing for them though is Suresh Raina is coming back into their team now. So he missed last year's IPL. We know what a great player he is. He's a star performer for them, legendary player of the IPL, and he's for sure going to add a lot of strength to their batting. So with these players coming in, I definitely think their batting is going to be stronger this time around. They've also added in Moeen Ali, really world-class all-rounder, we know he is as well. They've got Sam Curran, and we know the great Marinder Singh Dhoni's there. Didn't have such a explosive season as we normally see from him last year, but he'll be hoping to have a better one this year around, and he's such an astute captain, and they definitely have a chance to be in the top 4 and could be one of the winners. Next, we're going to take a look at last year's runners-up. That's the Delhi Capitals. They had a really strong tournament last year, finishing second in the league phase, but unfortunately for them, they were really struggling against Mumbai Indians. They couldn't beat them in the league phase of the tournament, and then also when it came to the playoffs, Mumbai Indians were too strong for them in the first playoff and then again in the final. And they'll be hoping to improve. As we know, historically in the IPL, they've not really done so well, but in the last couple of years, they have been improving under Ricky Ponting, and they've now got that step where they've got to a final now. So hopefully for them, if they can continue that trajectory of improving this year, they could possibly go on to win it. The big loss for them, though, is the fact their captain, Sirius Ayas, is injured. He unfortunately hurt his shoulder badly last month in the series between India and England, and he's required surgery, so he's going to miss the whole of the IPL. So that's a big loss for them. They have a great squad though, it's a lot of strength and depth, and for me, Rispa Pant is due a big tournament. Last year he had a really poor tournament by his standards. He only really played well in the final. I can't remember any other real outstanding innings from him apart from the final match. But this year he comes into it in much better form. We saw he perform so well for India in the test matches against Australia, and then again in the test matches against England, and in the recent one-day international and T20 series as well, he performed well. So he's coming into it in really good form, and I expect big things from him. As I said, their squad is very strong. They've got the likes of Darwin there, Marcus Stoinis. They've added Chris Wokes, Tom Curran and Sam Billings as well. So a lot of strength in depth, and in the spin bowling department, they have Akshar Patel and Ashwin, and we know how good these two are. We saw what they're doing against England in the test matches. They're great in this format too. They also have a brilliant fast bowling duo of Rabada and Notoji, who done so well in last season's tournament. So they got all bases covered, and I definitely think they're going to be one of the favourites again to win this tournament and should get through the playoff stage. Next up, let's take a look at the Kolkata Knight Riders. So they had a rather disappointing tournament for them last year. They played well in some matches, but they weren't consistent enough, and they didn't get through the top 4. They ended up finishing in 5th place. The biggest disappointment for them would be their star player, Andre Russell, didn't fire the bat. We know how explosive this guy is. He is such a dangerous player, and he had a poor tournament for him. He bowled well, but batting wise, really poor from him. If we compare to how he was the year before, when he was in such fine form, it was a big disappointment. But hopefully for them this year, he will be in a lot better form. One of the best innings I've seen him play, one of the best innings I think there's ever been in the IPL, was back in 2019 when they were playing against the Royal Challengers Bangalore. He came to the wicket with them needing around 60 odd with 4 overs left, and he smashed 48 runs in just 13 balls, hitting 7 sixes to guide them home. So he, on his day, is a match winner all by himself, as we know, and we'll be hoping for more better performances regularly from him in this season's tournament. Their squad overall is a strong squad. They got the likes of Ian Morgan, Dinesh Karthik. You know, last year was a bit of upheaval in the squad as well. The fact that they changed captain halfway through, where Dinesh gave the captaincy to Ian, so that wasn't ideal. This year they hope to be more settled. We know what a great captain Ian Morgan is for England, with their T20 and one-day international captain. Led them to World Cup victory recently, so he's a very astute captain. And with a squad now, they have a strong squad. They have lots of Pat Cummins there, really good fast bowlers we know from Australia. And the big plus for them is that Saqib Ul Hassan returns. He missed last year's tournament, but he's back for them this year, and he's a great all-rounder, as we know, so he's going to add a lot of strength to that lineup. And I think they'll go really well, and again, they should be one of the teams that are competing for a top 4 spot and a potential winner of the tournament. Next we have Mumbai Indians, the defending champions. We know what a strong team this is. As I was saying to you before, they got all the departments covered. Strong lineup throughout with a lot of strength in depth. So they open up with Rohit Sharma and Quinton de Kock. Then in at 3 they have Surya Kumar Yadav. Great player, as we saw, he made his debut for India recently and done so well. And then after that, Ishan Kishan as well, same great player, made his debut recently for India and done really well. Then they have their all-rounders, who had a lot of firepower for them and are great finishers of the innings, and that is Kiran Pollard, Hardik Pandya and Krunal Pandya, coming in at 5, 6, 7. Really strong depth to that team in terms of the batting. And then with the bowling, they're led by Jasprit Bumrah. They have the likes of Trent Bolt, Nathan Coulter-Nile, Rahul Chahar, and them along with the all-rounders give the captain great options. And last season they didn't have a Hardik Pandya available to bowl for them, as he was recovering from an injury, so he was only playing as a batsman. But this year he'll be bowling, so that's an extra option for the captain Rohit. We know what a brilliant captain he's been for them. He's won it many times for them in the recent years, and I can see them being strong favourites to win this year's tournament again. They should definitely get through the league phase, as they're so consistent. And then in the playoffs, as we know, it is a knockout match, and you know, on the day you can take 1 or 2 good performances from the opponent and you can be on the losing end of a result. But definitely have to be the favourites to win this tournament, and it's going to take a great performance for somebody to stop them. Next we have the Punjab Kings. So they had a really poor season last year. They were struggling at the start, they were losing many games and they were at the bottom, but then they had a really good second half of the season and they came back and actually had a chance to get to the playoffs. Unfortunately they didn't make it there, but that was good for them, the fact that they were improving in the second half of the season, and they'll hope to be stronger in this year's IPL. Their batting was really strong, with KL Rahul opening with Agarwal. Them two were putting on many great partnerships, like fast tempo, getting them off to really good starts. So it was a surprise they struggled so much. But it wasn't the batting that let them down, it was the bowling, as I'll go into. But with the batting, they got Chris Gayle there as well. He was coming in at number 3, playing really well when he got into the team, and he has a lot of experience. So batting wise, they've also added Dawid Malan for this season's tournament. So that's going to strengthen. I don't know what they're going to do with him, because he normally bats in the top 3. We've seen how well he does for England. He's the number 1 ranked T20 player in the world, so he should definitely strengthen their batting. Not that he needed much strengthening, as I was saying, it's really a very strong lineup. So with him coming in now, probably batting at 4, so that top 4 is one hell of a lineup, and they should get many runs. So their weakness, as I was saying, was the bowling that really let them down. Apart from Mohammad Shami, who's their star bowler, the rest of the bowlers are really poor. They've looked to address that with this year's tournament by bringing in Jai Richardson from Australia. We know what a great bowler he is, really fast bowler, and does well in the format in Australia and in the Big Bash and playing for the Australian national team. But we're hoping he will add strength to their bowling. They've also got Joses Henriquez, another good Australian international player. You say more of a batting all-rounder, but he is a good bowler as well. So hoping that these two coming into the team will improve the weaknesses they had with the bowling. And if they do, they will be stronger. But I just think their squad overall is not as strong as some of the other squads in the tournament, and they have to be considered one of the outsiders to make it through to the top 4 to win the trophy. Next is Rajasthan Royals. So they had a really poor tournament last year. You know, they were doing well in parts of it, won some games, and it wasn't until the latter stages where they couldn't mathematically qualify for the playoffs. But in the end, they had a poor finish and ended up finishing bottom. Batting wise, they were doing okay. Sanju Samson had a great tournament, especially the matches in Sharjah. His first few matches there, he was unbelievable, hitting sixes all over the place. Joss Buttler was a bit hit and miss. He played well, but they decided for some reason to drop him down the order, which made no sense to me. I know Ben Stokes came in at the top of the order and did well, but for me, Joss has to be opening or in the top 3 at least. They're saying that, you know, give him a chance to be a finisher. He does that very well in the 50 over format, but as you've seen for England, they bat him right at the top of the order, and reason is because you want to give a player like that as many overs as possible to bat, and he will come good. We know how good he is, so I hope they put him back to the top of the order, and maybe they'll put Ben Stokes with him to open, or Ben Stokes at 3. They got Sanju Samson, like I say, so maybe go with Buttler, Samson to open with Ben Stokes in at 3, or Buttler and Stokes open with Samson in at 3. That's a very strong top 3, and their problem wasn't really so much with their batting last year, it was with the bowling. Apart from Jofra Archer, the rest of the bowlers really struggled to keep it tight or take wickets, and they'll be hoping that they can perform better this year. They have tried to correct that with their buys for this season, so they bought in Chris Morris and Mustafa Ramin. These are 2 really good world-class bowlers, as we know, so hopefully they perform well and that will strengthen their bowling. But the big problem they have is Jofra Archer is currently injured, so we don't know how long he's going to be injured for. He's in the recovering phase at the moment. He's definitely going to miss the start of the tournament. Exactly how long he's going to miss, we don't know yet. But as I said, he is their best bowler and he's a big miss, so they'll hope to get him back really soon. But again, same with Punjab, I don't think their squad is as strong as some of the others, and for me, they're one of the outsiders to make it into the top 4 or to win the tournament. Next, we have the Royal Challengers Bangalore. So the team that always has a strong squad but doesn't do as well as they could do, you would say. They've yet to win this tournament, and it's a surprise considering how strong their squads have been through the years. They'll be hoping that this year will be better for them. They were quite good in last season's tournament. They got through to the playoffs, finishing 4th place, but then lost out in the playoff to the Sunrisers. Colley had another good tournament, as did De Villiers, but Aaron Finch really struggled for them. And where they really struggled was that lower middle order, but they've really gone and corrected that for this season in the transfer market. So they've bought in Dan Christian, Glenn Maxwell, Daniel Sams and Kyle Jameson. He was the most expensive purchase as well in the whole transfer market. So they've really gone all out to correct their issues with that lower middle order that they have. And I think they're going to be much stronger with them now. So they can allow Colley to open, and we'll have De Villiers up at number 3, and then they haven't got to worry about that end phase where we were struggling before. They've got some serious players. We know how good Dan Christian is all around the world. He's won many T20 tournaments. Glenn Maxwell had a poor IPL last year for Punjab, but he'll be looking to do a lot better this year. Again, we know what he's all about. If he gets going, such a clean hitter of a ball. He's a good option with a ball as well for spin bowling. And in terms of spin bowling, we know they've got Chahal there, Washington Sundar, so good options in the spin department, fast bowling department as well. They got the young Shiraj and Siani there as well, so they're looking good, I think, to get into the top 4, and hopefully for them they'll make it through to the final. And as I said, they've got so many match winners, they've definitely got a very good chance to win this tournament, and I expect them to do really well. Finally, we have the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So they had a decent tournament last time round. They finished 3rd in the league phase, won the first playoff against Bangalore, but couldn't win against Delhi, so didn't make it through to the final. They had a bit of an issue with getting the balance of their team right, so they were struggling to fit in their overseas batsmen. The 3 star players they had there were David Warner, Johnny Bairstow and Kane Williamson. So in the end, I started off with leaving Kane Williamson out, which was weakening their middle order. Then they brought Kane Williamson in and left Johnny Bairstow out, which was weakening them up the top. So it was a bit of an issue with the balance of their team, and I'm very surprised that they've actually recruited Jason Roy now as a 4th overseas batsman. So I don't know where they plan to fit him in as well. So it's going to be difficult. They need to get that balance right. But the problem they're having is that their weakness was the lower middle order, and they've not really seemed to have corrected that. So they're still going to have issues there, I think. I don't know how they're going to balance the team, but let's see how they do that. In terms of their bowling, that's their strong point. They have the great Rashid Khan. We know he's such a difficult bowler in this format to get runs against, picks up wickets consistently. They were missing Bhuvanesh Kumar in last season's IPL. He's back, and you know he's a world-class bowler, so he's definitely going to strengthen their bowling. They've got Nat Rajan there as well. They've added Mujib Rahman, and they've got Mohamed Nabi as well, so there's many spin bowling options, and definitely going to be a strong team, and again will be one of the favourites to make it through to the top 4 and have a good chance to win the tournament. So now, on to my predictions on who I think will make it through to the playoffs and finish in the top 4. I'm going to go for first place to be for Mumbai Indians. I think they're just so strong, so consistent, and I see that continuing this season's tournament, and I think they'll finish top. Behind them in second, going to go for the Royal Challengers Bangalore. I think they've really done well in the transfer market. They've addressed the weaknesses in their squad, and I think they have that perfect balance now, where the top order's really strong, middle order, lower order's strong. They got their hitters to finish off the innings. As I said, their spin bowling's strong. They got the young Indian fast bowlers too. They've added them quality all-rounders which will help the bowling. The likes of Daniel Sams, Carl Jamieson are really good bowlers as well. So they've got all bases covered, I think, now. And that squad's going to be a very difficult team to beat. And they're going to win a lot of games. So I think they'll finish second. In third, I'm going for the Delhi Capitals. I know it's a big miss for the fact that their captain's not going to be there, but that squad is so strong. There's so much depth and so many options. As I say, in the spin bowling department, Akshar Patel and Ashwin, fast bowlers, Rabada and Notoji. And remember, batting, even though they're missing their captain, they've got so many great players, the likes of Pant, Stonis, Dhawan. These are some serious hitters, and as I say, Pant is due to have a big tournament. I really think he's going to do big things this tournament, and I see them winning many games, so I think they'll finish in third and make it through to the playoffs. In fourth, I'm going to go with the Sunrisers Hyderabad. I think, like I said, they do have that weakness in the middle lower order in terms of finishing innings, but I think they have so many match winners at the top there. They've got the likes of David Warner, who's always scoring so many runs, Johnny Brestow, Kane Williamson, Jason Roy. I'd love to play all four of them, but that won't be possible, obviously, because then that would weaken their bowling substantially. So they've got to find and get that balance. But there's so many match winners. I've seen the bowling, the likes of Rashid Khan and Kumar. So I think they're going to do well. They'll win more games than they'll lose and should make it through to the top four. Then now going to my prediction for who I think will get to the final. I think the final will be played between Mumbai Indians and Royal Challengers Bangalore. And then for the winner itself, the Mumbai Indians, I just think that's such a strong lineup that they have, so much experience. I think they're going to be very hard to beat. However, as I said, it's a knockout match. Many times in these knockout matches in a short format, it just takes a couple of star performances, Kohli or De Villiers to really fire, one of their all-rounders lower down the order to fire, or one of their bowlers to get a load of wickets, and they could win. So, great chance if they do get to the final, but from what I see on paper, you have to go Mumbai to be the winners, and that's my prediction for this year's IPL winner. Thank you, please remember to subscribe, like and share.